our quarterly Singer Island Town Hall meeting. We sometimes have as many as 8 people at these, along with people watching from home. But I suspect we got the announcement out a little late, and I apologize for that. But we always have these quarterly Singer Island Town Hall meetings on the last Thursday of the first month of the quarter. So our next one will be July 28th, and then August, September, October, I think it's the 27th. It's the last Thursday of the month of the first month of the quarter. So that you can put it in your calendars and count on it happening every time. We're so happy to have with us this evening City Manager Jonathan Evans, Deputy Assistant City Manager Deirdre Jacobs, Mr. Lowe, Michael Lowe, who's the head of our utilities district. We have Josh Lewis, who is our interim police chief, and happy to have him here. We have Ms. Edie Jenkins, and we have Mr. Johnson, who's the head of our utilities district. So there's a lot of firepower up here, a lot of people who have lots of information to share with you. Ms. Jenkins has to leave early.
No, I finished already.
Oh, you did, wonderful. So we will just go along with the agenda here, and thank you again for being here. Mr. Evans is going to give us a little bit of an update on capital projects that we have going on in the city. I know everybody is always asking me what's happening with that building on the corner of Blue Heron and Congress, Broadway, Congress, I'm thinking about the fire station. What's happening with that old building, the old bank building, so I'm sure he'll touch on that, and any other capital projects that might be of interest to folks, and we'll always leave time to stop them in the middle if you have questions, or we'll have time at the end for questions as well. Mr. Evans.
All right, good afternoon, and certainly thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'm going to go through a couple of the capital projects and initiatives that we have going on, and obviously there's probably some that you have some questions, so I'll be able to field some of the questions that you may have. So one of the things that I think is very important, not too long, a couple months back, the board said to me that they'd like to see it summarized as it relates to where we are with regards to these capital projects. So if you go to our website and go to rivierbeach.com and you click on the Reimagine Riviera Beach, which is our slogan for capital projects and some of the initiatives that we're moving forward with, and then you go to the bottom of the page, you'll actually see some reports that I put together working with staff that give you a summation of all the capital projects and initiatives that we have going on. So I'll actually work my way from the island and then work my way off of the island. So one of the things that persons have asked is what's happening with Fire Station 86. Fire Station 86 was contemplated originally for us to look for a location that was here by the Ocean Walk. We had conversations with the community and then the city council, and they decided to say, hey, you need to find another option or another alternative. And so as we look for real estate, obviously at this particular juncture, real estate costs are through the roof, and it is cost prohibitive for us to acquire parcels to facilitate the construction of a fire station anywhere in the close proximity. So what we're doing is part of the new water treatment plant process that we're going through, and the board has selected a team that will be designing and constructing a new water treatment plant. But the existing Fire Station 86 has a water tank and booster pumps on that particular facility. In order to be able to accommodate the construction of a new facility, we would have to relocate those particular assets, or we would not utilize them in the services that we provide. So as part of the first phase of the analysis necessary for a new water treatment plant is looking to see if there's an opportunity to remove the water tank and the booster pumps and facilitate the construction of a fire station in the existing footprint. Now there's some mitigation that we'll have to do, but that's the analysis and the work that staff is working on now. We are in a situation that probably in the next 12 months we are going to have to relocate that particular fire station because it's at the end of its useful life. We are moving very quickly with regards to the construction of Fire Station 87, which is the main fire station at City Hall. If we are able to extend the time that Fire Station 86 can remain operational, what we would do, and what we've already worked out, is a situation whereby we would lease property, the vacant property that's here on the island. We will create for a modular fire station. We will then relocate personnel here, demo that, and then look to eventually construct the station on that particular site. And so we're already planning for what the next phase of Riviera Beach Fire Service is. Because if you look at all our facilities were built at the same time in the 70s. And so they're not those modern amenities. Fire personnel, especially our female firefighters, have to utilize the same quarters and same facilities that the males utilize, which is very uncommon in the fire service at this particular juncture. So Fire Station 86, we're still working on that. Our preferred and optimal location is for it to remain where it is. We don't see a situation whereby we would be able to justify the acquisition and the construction of a station anywhere else besides the location where it's at now, just because of the sheer cost and the amount of property you have to take off the tax roll to help facilitate that. What we did also is, since that's part of the planning process, we also took the monies from that particular station and we assigned that money to Fire Station 87, which is the main fire station that's adjacent to where City Hall is now. The board has agreed and staff has moved forward with preliminary analysis and design work to facilitate the construction of Fire Station 87, actually basically in the parking lot on the corner of Avenue H. So what we will do is we'll demo Fire Station 87. We're building a modular Fire Station 87 that will be across the street at Wells Recreation Center. And then we'll move the personnel and then we'll move forward. We want to pair that up as close to the construction activities we have going on Fire Station 88. Fire Station 88 is probably the fire station that you pass when you are driving. You see the reimagined banners out there. It's on the corner of Blue Heron and Congress. That particular facility is going to be about a 30,000 square foot facility. It's going to be probably one of the most modern and energy efficient, as well as fire-centric stations in the country once that facility is constructed, because even some of the cancer reduction components that are incorporated in that. There's also a lighting in there that actually is programmed to go with the circadian rhythm. So in a situation whereby it's getting later on in the evening, the lights dim accordingly, because in the fire service, they have to, and in the police service, they have to move in a moment's notice. And so there's a lot of research that's been done with regards to what fighters have to deal with and police officers from a cardiac perspective. And so there's so many different nuances in this particular station that we're excited about. And so then moving on to the last fire station we have is Fire Station 89, which is on Military Trail right next to the VA. We're working with the Biden administration. That property is actually leased from the federal government. We were working with the Trump administration previous, and there is a stipulation that in the law, in order to utilize federal government property, there has to be, especially that's designated for the VA, there has to be some services that are provided to veterans. And so that station, we're anticipating some renovations that will occur to that particular station, and then some services that would also be provided to the VA as part of that arrangement. So, you know, long story short, related to the fire stations, we're trying to move through those as quickly as we possibly can, because again, they're all at the end of their useful life. They are woefully inadequate for the fire services that we provide. Moving on to the police issue, the police department right now has a facility that's roughly about 17 to 20,000 square feet. That's on the main City Hall campus. That particular facility is at the end of its useful life, so there's a couple of options that we're working on. One option is the BB&T building, or the Truist building now. That particular developer has provided us with a proposal that we are conducting an analysis to make a determination if we can renovate that particular facility to accommodate the Riviera Beach Police Department. The facility in totality is about 60,000 square feet. We would do some structured parking on that particular facility and then do some improvements to the front facade of that facility. But we would take that building down to the studs, new HVAC, new wiring, new windows, the whole nine. So it would be a modern state-of-the-art facility. we're also looking at the construction of a new police department that would be close to where the main station, Fire Station 87, is. But we know with the cost of construction, you may find a situation where you can renovate and move into that facility at a fraction of the cost, and it gets our police into a modern facility probably in about 18 months, where the construction of a police station in and of itself may be anywhere between 4 to 5 years. And so we're looking to move on that as quickly as we possibly can. From a police philosophy, one of the things that we're also looking at is opportunities for substations. We think there's a lot of value to having law enforcement in the community, and that's one of the things that we've been big on is community policing. So we have a substation that will be up and operational probably in the next 30 to 40 days. That's in the center part of our community. So when that facility comes online, that's going to be our way to beta test and see how that goes. But we will look to deploy probably substations in other parts of the community as we look to bring additional facilities online. And so the thorn in everyone's side, the 2600 Broadway building, I can tell you that building should have been demolished some time ago. We ran into some issues with the demo contractor. We have since moved to another demo contractor. We are bringing that item to the board at their May 4th meeting. If the board approves that item and the contract is executed, the contractor can mobilize in 48 hours and conceivably get those buildings down, both the old library building as well as 2600, in about a week's time. The first project is going to be the old library building, and then they'll move to the 2600 Broadway building. Also, the Miami Subs property, that's a property that the CRA acquired, and so that building will actually be coming down. And so we will have a bunch of properties that our intent with those properties, once we demolish them, is to look to have a situation where we go out to the market and work with private developers to say, hey, what can we do with these parcels that we have to create what we all want to see in our community, whether it's retail or residential and the like. And so we will be going through that particular process with those facilities. The City Hall, the board has already authorized us to move forward with the solicitation document for a new City Hall campus. That's on Broadway between 21st and 22nd. That particular solicitation document probably will hit the streets at the beginning of the summer. It's contemplated that we would look for a developer partner that would construct something anywhere between 4 to 8 stories that would accommodate both City Hall operations as well as an opportunity to have our library, a state-of-the-art library that will probably be a facility that will be front-facing Avenue E. So City Hall conceivably would have 2 front doors. It would have one that fronts Broadway, and then on Avenue E you'll have the library services. On that particular facility, we would want to have a retail wrap to allow for small businesses to have some spaces, because we want to make sure that the facility has some character to it and can be utilized after government hours. One of the things that we've seen when we go to other cities is that after 5:30, City Hall, probably one of the biggest buildings in the downtown core, is absolutely dead. And so we want to have some activity and synergy that occurs after government hours. And so we're looking to make sure that we have a facility that works. One of the other things that we have talked about too is our Marina Event Center. At our Marina Event Center, we have that banquet hall space, but we all know that when you're talking about banquet space, the most optimal opportunity for banquet space, especially in the beach community, is to have views of the ocean and the beach. And so we are talking about the possibility of having one of those floors that would be conceivably all banquet space. So if you wanted to hold a community event and you're going to have 2,000 or 3,000 people, you can have that wide open space to where anything over the 3rd story, you're able to see the intercoastal and the ocean. So we're looking at that, as well as the opportunity. One of the deficiencies we see in the community is Class A office space. And so can you have a situation where some of the office, or some of the space on the City Hall campus is leased out to a private firm or firms to be able to provide that Class A office space to offset the cost for the facility? And then the big dream that we have is, right, to have a 5-star steakhouse right on the roof where you can see the water. And so that's the plan that we're hoping for, so we're keeping our fingers crossed. As a result of that agreement, we're also looking to, the city has around 60 acres in that center part of our community, so where the Wells Recreation Campus is, as well as City Hall, the library, the police department, the utility district. As part of that development with City Hall, we would look to get into a situation with the developer where we would have conversations about some development that would occur there. And so you would have a situation where it could be retail, commercial, residential, a combination of all. So to create that synergy right in that corridor. And so we're excited about what the solicitation and what the developers can look to bring to the table. We're working with a firm called Avison Young that's providing us with the professional and technical expertise to put out the solicitation document. And then obviously then the board has some tough decisions that they're going to have to make as it relates to how we can move forward with this project, because City Hall is tied to the overall campus. We have about $23 million that's set aside for the City Hall development project. It's anticipated to be in totality City Hall campus probably anywhere between $45 to $60 million. Just depends on where we find when we get to the design and the engineering phases and the like. Last night the board provided us, the CRA board provided us direction to move forward with an exclusive negotiation agreement with APD Tesra, who is the developers on the Marina Phase 2. There's probably been a lot of news coverage that you all have seen with regards to that particular project. And originally it was contemplated that they would do a residential tower that would be affordable units, 136 units I think was the unit count, and then some retail as well as some restaurants on Restaurant Row. Since then they have sharpened their pencils substantially. They brought about 400 market rate units to the table in their overall proposal. And they brought the Related group in. Related Urban, which was the workforce partner, is involved, but also Related, their market rate arm is in it. So they're looking to possibly do 2 towers that would be about 400 units. There's also conversations with a aquarium outfit that would look to create a Sequest is the name of the company, and they would have an aquarium function that they would look to construct on Bicentennial Park, but still preserving that green space that we have. There also is conversations about activating some of the vacant space that we have at the Marina Event Center, and then looking actually at a food market or conversion of some of the space we have in the food market. So really creating a lot of synergy, and we see this as an opportunity to really transform that particular area. And so if everything goes as planned, you have a situation where you'll have a lot of activity on the marina, and then you'll have some situations when we get the redevelopment of the City Hall campus to where you'll almost have two downtown fields or what have you. And so with that, we're also having a lot of conversations with a couple of private developers on the Broadway corridor. We anticipate, ballpark number, is that over the next 5 years, you can see about $1 billion worth of economic redevelopment activities that occur in the Broadway corridor. That's just the Broadway corridor. The taxable value for the properties in the CRA in and of itself is $1 billion. So you're going to see a situation whereby that can double. In order for the CRA to continue to grow in the 19 years it has remaining, is you want to get that TIF, that tax increment financing, then you want to increase that TIF with development activities. And so there is a lot that is going on from CRA to the city. There's the new water treatment plant, which I know that is the service that everybody talks about the most. Staff has had about a 4.5-hour meeting today with the attorneys to work through some nuances of the contract. We're still working on those. Our intent is hopefully to get something before the board at their May meeting where they can consummate the relationship with the developers so we can move forward with the new water treatment plant. Mr. Lowe has promised me that because of some delays, he can get it up in 30 months versus 36 months, so that's great. But yeah, we're moving forward with the new water treatment plan. The cost will be anywhere between $100 to $150 million. This will be a state-of-the-art campus. It also will house the Public Works Department and functions that we have in the city. So we're excited about that. The developers that we have the experience, have the aptitude and the capabilities to facilitate the construction of that facility in the time frame. And so we're hopeful that will be able to come to fruition very soon and address some of the concerns that persons have about, the watercolor and the clarity and the like. That's one of the things that is definitely something that's a priority for us. So that is just a small fraction.
I think that deserves a round of applause. So exciting to see some of these projects coming to fruition. It's really the greatest time to be here, really.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so
It
much.
really is. And I think I've got a gray hair for each of those projects, and probably, but please visit the website. It has so much information. If you have a question, if you have a concern, give us a call. If there's a HOA meeting or a neighborhood association meeting that you want us to come to, let us know. We love talking about the positive things that sometimes the press forgets to tell about.
Thank you so much. Switching over to CRA, we have Ms. Jenkins here, and she can talk a little bit about neighborhood services and the kinds of things. I see the pictures that are up here on the wall of the ambassadors. I don't remember seeing them here before, and it's nice to see them because they provide a great service to those of us who live on Singer Island.
Thank you, and thanks for the opportunity to come and share with you all and to see some of you again. Mr. Evans could give this talk as well as I could because he's also working on the CRA side, and he mentioned a lot of the large capital projects, and I'd like to focus on neighborhood services and some of the quality of life type of activities that we're doing. And Commissioner Botel's comment is a segue to let you all know that the CRA was formerly in the BB&T/Truist building, and if you didn't know, we can be found at City Hall on the second floor back in the corner. So come and visit us sometimes if you're looking for us. That's where we are. Don't go to 2001 Broadway. And you haven't seen those pictures because they were hanging over in our old offices. But we're very proud of our ambassador program. We hope that you are pleased with the service that you're receiving over on Singer Island and along the Broadway corridor. You see them about in the neighborhoods, and they're pressure washing the bridge and helping to pick up trash, pass out information, providing referrals for our transient citizens who are in the community, and helping with events and in our community garden program. I just want to talk about a few things, and some of the information it's good to know that these things are going on in our city, and I hope that you share with others that you know. You may have children or grandchildren or neighbors or friends who might benefit from some of the information, even if you cannot. Along with the major capital investments that are going on, we're also focused on how can we improve and expand our home ownership in our city, because that helps to stabilize our neighborhoods and provide opportunities for our young people coming back from college, and for people to just have a beautiful, attractive housing, because we don't want to do all of this activity, build these beautiful buildings and bring in others, and we don't have places for our residents to live and be able to enjoy all that we have built and sacrificed for. So the CRA supports the Riviera Beach Homebuyers Club along with our Community Development Corporation. And I just got off a call a few minutes ago where I was presenting to about 40 potential new homeowners who are in the club and talking about places where they might buy homes that we will have available very shortly. The CRA has made money available not only for down payment assistance, but for property acquisition. And we also have a program, if you're in the CRA, for owner-occupied rehab. So if any of you have your homes and that's your primary residence, and you are in the CRA, we can provide up to $35,000 for roof repair, windows, fencing, landscaping, etc. And that's through a program called Reclaim. So if you hear about this, that's what it is. The CRA also has on the commercial side, if you have a small business, our property beautification grant, where we provide up to $40,000 in grant funds with a $10,000 match from the small business owner for exterior improvements to enhance the building. And there are some businesses along this corridor that have taken advantage of that. There are some that we're processing now that are nearer to the Broadway Blue Heron intersection that you'll see some improvements in terms of signage and enhancement and painting, etc. But we think that that is helping to enhance our community as well. We have a $4,000 property beautification grant for our small businesses, and that is an outright grant that we're providing for our property owners, for our commercial property owners. We have, along with our Reclaim program, we have something that we call Smart Home, that if you're within the CRA and outside in the city, because we have dollars for that, we're providing Ring door cameras, the alarms, motion sensors. We're providing house numbers along with that, and smoke alarms. You can get from 2 to 4 smoke alarms for your house. So if anybody is interested in that program, give us a call, and that is one that is administered by our ambassadors, and it's totally free. I want to mention that we also have a robust community garden program. How many of you have visited our Singer Island garden just a couple of blocks from here? You have to go check it out. There is a beautiful park that's open to the public. We have maybe a few more beds for rent in the garden. It's an opportunity if you have a green thumb to come and get some help, to get some plants, to get some vegetables, but also to volunteer. And that is a project we're very proud of, and proud of our Singer Island Garden Committee led by Ms. J.B. Dixon, and supported by our Commissioner Botel, who actually gets out and she digs in the dirt and she transplants flowers and she pulls weeds every week. Yes, she does. We have the proof. But it's an opportunity for all of us to work on keeping that area beautiful and beautifying our community. Along with our garden program in the CRA, we have a beautiful demonstration garden at 1010 West 10th Street, where you can go by anytime and get a variety of vegetables and fruits and flowering plants, and it's totally free. And it's open 6 days a week, open to anyone in the city. We also support through the CDC our community garden program at Lindsay Davis. There's a garden program at Lincoln Elementary. There's one that we support at the Riviera Beach Resource Center across from West Riviera Elementary School. And the city supports the urban farm. So if you're interested in healthy, wholesome, delicious food, we have just great opportunities throughout the city, not only in the CRA, for you to partake in. I will stop there and see if there are any questions or any comments, but we're always looking for volunteers in some of our programs. We just participated in the Great American Cleanup. There will be a group of young people who will be cleaning up the beach this coming Sunday as part of the Great American Cleanup. We had hundreds of volunteers at different points in our city and in the CRA last week, and we encourage you, if you're so inclined, to come out and join us sometime. But if you want to check out what we're doing or hear any more about what's going on in the CRA, you could give me a call. I'm Anita Jenkins, located at our CRA, and my number is 561-844-3408. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jenkins. Appreciate that. And I believe Ms. Jenkins left some literature on the table over there, so I'm sure
Yes.
that's probably got her phone number in there somewhere, so pick up some of that information.
Can I ask a quick
Sure.
question?
Yes.
The people who are growing vegetables, for instance, in these gardens around, Have they ever considered selling that stuff?
Yes, we're working on our grower's license to allow us to be able to do that, perhaps at the tiki market. There is a great need for herbs and different things that you can grow in quantity to do that. And that is in the plan for our demonstration garden at 1010 West 10th Street to be able to help sustain the garden. So that definitely is part of the plan. Right now, though, we're making the produce available for volunteers and really anybody who wants it. Incidentally,
They should sell it. I mean, there's a lot of people who would be willing to buy.
yes, and we'll take, the CDC takes donations at any time for things that are going on. I will also mention that the beds that are rented at the Singer Island Garden, those volunteers pay a small fee to rent the beds, and they're donating a lot of the produce to people who need it, who are food insecure. But that's a great idea, and that is part of our plan.
Thank you. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce this fine young gentleman over here, who is Keith Golden, the Riviera Beach Fire Rescue Assistant Chief, and he's going to speak a little bit about hurricane preparedness.
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. My name is Keith Golden, Assistant Chief. I'm joined by Assistant Chief Johnson and our Community Risk Reduction Captain Watson, Community Risk Reduction Officer Captain Watson. Without being redundant, Mr. Evans already covered all the things that we were going to talk about as far as the public safety update. So I'm going to have Mr. Watson come up and we'll talk about hurricane preparedness for this upcoming hurricane season.
That's only because they teach me all that stuff.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for having Riviera Beach Fire Rescue come out to this fine event. As you know, we're getting ready to enter into hurricane season. We like to pride ourselves at Riviera Beach Fire Rescue as taking your safety as our #1 priority. So with that being said, we'd like to also reiterate that we are very proactive. We don't wait to the last minute to start discussing things. We want to make sure that the citizens, the stakeholders, the businesses, that they are privy to the information that we have so that we can move forward as a city as safely as possible. We're getting ready to get into hurricane season. I would like to say that now is the time to start planning. Hurricane season starts June the 1st. We always say if you don't have a plan, then you're gonna be not so lucky or successful with whatever that's being done at that particular time. So there are many different websites, many different agencies, many different places that you can go to obtain this information. We always like to say, get a credible source of information, not Joe Blow's backyard weather channel or somebody who's working out of their garage just putting out all kind of tweets about hurricanes and hurricane season. So you want to always get credible information from the National Weather Channel. The CDC also is a great way of getting information as far as it pertains to hurricane safety and preparedness. You can also look at all the news media, the news outlets. They're a great way of getting credible information as it pertains to hurricane season. And I also saw that book back there. It's a directory, 2022. Has a lot of great numbers in there countywide for different agencies, different sources, different outlets of information. If you have a question that may not be satisfied by the city or something that's outside of the city scope, that you can also utilize. So I urge you to get one of those books. It has a lot of great information in there. When we talk about hurricane season, every year it's always, this season is going to be active. This season is going to be active. Every season is going to be active. If you plan for an active season all the time, if it's not so active, then you're ahead of the curve. So we always like to say, plan for an active season, no matter if they say it's not going to be an active season or if it is going to be an active season. You want to have at least 3 days of non-perishable food items wherever you plan on being at for the hurricane. Make sure you have enough water, enough food. And when we say water and food, we also got to take into consideration our extended family members and our pets. Make sure you have enough cat food, dog food, rabbit food, fish food, whatever kind of pets you have. Make sure that you keep those in mind too, because they are part of our family as well. So when we talk about getting prepared, also if you have any medications, make sure that you stop by your pharmacist, you go see your doctor, whatever the case may be, to ensure that you have enough medications on hand. And if there is in fact a hurricane that may shut down the facilities that you would normally get your medications from. If the lighting or the power is out for extended prolonged period of time and you're diabetic, you want to make sure that you have all your diabetes medications, diabetic medications, and medications not just for you, but whoever else is in your household. Also, keep in consideration that we're still in a pandemic, even though it seems things have kind of slacked up a little bit or lightened up. If in the event that you have to go to a shelter, also make sure that you have the proper mask, and if you have anyone that's accompanying you, make sure they have the proper mask, and not just one. Try to get a couple of them, because they kind of get stale after a couple hours of breathing in them. So you want to make sure that you have, enough masks for you and your family. Also, this is a great time to get your insurance policies together, make copies of them, laminate them, do whatever you need to do, keep them in a safe place, because when the hurricane hits and things may get damaged or you don't know exactly where those sensitive documents may be, it's going to be that much harder for you to locate them, especially if you're not in the right frame of mind when if there's something that may have damaged your home or sometimes you may have to evacuate. You want to make sure you have that pertinent information with you, because that's going to be a lifeline if anything happens later on down the road. Preparing your home now. If you have any generators, those little generators that you sit out, gas power, please don't put those in your house. They don't belong in your living room. They don't belong in your room. Make sure that you keep those out in an open place so that those fumes don't come back into your house. Carbon monoxide poisoning is very, very common with that. It's odorless, it's colorless, it's tasteless, and you can go to sleep and have the biggest dream of your life and never wake up again. So you want to make sure that you keep those in a very, very, very well ventilated area outside the house. So that's pretty much all I have in a nutshell. If you have any questions for me now, I'll try to answer those best of my ability. But we just want to make sure that we give you some of the basic meat and potato things as it pertains to having a successful hurricane season.
Thank you, Mr. Evans.
More of a, I think it's important for the community to know what you did with regards to the 3G tower and the situation, the 3G network that was turned off, and the services that fire rescue provided. I think it's important to let the community know what you all were doing and what you all were tasked with that no one else was doing in Palm Beach County, or maybe even the state.
Absolutely. As many of you may know, you may not know, the 3G network is probably one of the first networks that came out. As time goes on, as technology enhances, as we move forward, the 3G network got phased out. So what we were tasked with as an organization that I believe Mr. Evans is absolutely correct, no one in the county was doing this. I personally went around with the help of Assistant Chief Golden and Chief Johnson. They gave me a packet. I had over a couple hundred addresses that I had to check out. So I put those in order. We put a nice robust packet together, and we went door to door informing people that may have the older type of cell phones, the flip phones, the phones that are not capable of handling the updated technology, that we went to those different residents and we told them that, hey, at this date, this is no longer going to work. So if you have any medical devices that are tied to the 3G network, cell phones that are tied to the 3G network, call your cell phone provider, give them your account number, give them all your pertinent information, and they'll be able to tell you whether or not you're currently under that 3G. And if you are under that 3G, they can help you move to a more productive type of technology, such as the 4G and 5G. So 4G, and probably in a couple years or so, that'll probably get phased out because it'll probably be 6G, 7G, 8G. It just goes on and on. It's just technology. So what we did, we reached out to, I believe, at least 200, maybe 300 different residents, and we gave them those packets, and we were able to hit every condo on the island. So if you're on the island and you didn't get that information, please get with the front desk. They have a whole packet. They have all the cell phone carriers. They have all the pertinent information as it pertains to 3G shutdown. So the whole entire island is covered, and I believe 200 plus addresses in the mainland were covered. So we made sure that all the individuals that utilize that service for the 3G network, as far as those medical alert devices, we made sure that we reached out to them one-on-one and educated them on how the process works and what they need to do to stay current so that they can keep utilizing those particular devices.
Thank you so much. It's great information. Really appreciate it. Appreciate you being here. Now, I think almost everybody on the island knows who Officer Joe Hoffman is. So come up here, Joe, so the camera can get you. Come on. Say hello.
I will say
We will be broadcasting this thing. But I do want to introduce also our newly appointed interim police chief, Josh Lewis. So Josh and Joe, you can maybe give us an update on what's happening with the police department and anything that we need to know about public safety.
Sure. I'd like to start with probably the biggest project that we've engaged in like 25 years in the city, and that's accreditation. Our police department currently is in the process of being accredited. It's never happened. It takes a lot of work. Accreditation will put us on par with some of the best practices and orders of police departments throughout the state of Florida. We've been working very hard on it. We've had a mock assessment where 3 assessors came into the police department and analyzed every single file, every nook and cranny, everything that we do operationally they went through. And there was some good and there was some bad, but it was a mock assessment, so we have time to get everything right. Once we do get it right, which we hope will take place in August, which is our test date, we will maintain it and remain accredited and be on par with some of the premier law enforcement agencies in Florida. I have Officer Hoffman with me and Captain Schneider with me today to provide updates. Officer Hoffman will give some beach updates, and Captain Schneider will provide some updates regarding St. Island patrol points.
Okay, well, I'm Officer Joe Hoffman. I'm your beach patrol officer. We serve many functions. We don't just drive up and down the beach. We do answer a lot of calls within the community, typically addressing particular issues that you as a citizen of the island might have, whether you own a home or a condo. Each area has its unique set of issues that we try our best to address. Some of them, one of the biggest complaints are speeding down North Ocean. I know a lot of people bicycle, and our bike pathways are about this wide. If somebody's texting or anything like that and they happen to drift off a little bit, it could be very dangerous for joggers, bicyclists. So we're trying to be vigilant now to, you've probably noticed we're out there a lot more recently monitoring speeders and that type of thing. But part of the beach function, I think you all know it's turtle season now, has begun. I talk to the hotels because it's sort of a constant battle sometimes that they ask their guests to keep their blinds closed at night and whatnot, because when a turtle is nesting and it sees light, they tend to go towards that. They get distracted from their instinctual egg laying. 2 years ago, we had 2 individuals that were poaching our turtle nests. They hit 34 of them and stole the eggs. We worked diligently with the Florida wildlife officers. We sat out there for 3 weeks with night vision equipment hiding in the bushes, and we caught them. And they're now doing 5 years in federal prison. I'm a huge fan of sea turtles. I honestly never had much to do with them until I got assigned to beach patrol, but now they are a huge priority for me. I love them. You can't help but fall in love with the things when you see them crawling up and doing their thing. So we serve many different functions. Obviously, we monitor the bars over here in the evening. There's a few people that, when they've had a few too many, don't act right. So we handle that as quickly as possible, try to keep up all the tourism here, make sure people feel safe, and that there's not a whole lot of nonsense going on over here. I can say, let's see the picture up here, these guys are a huge help to the police department, let me tell you. We work very closely together, we all know each other, we exchange issues that each one of us might be having, where we can help each other out. So I really appreciate those guys, they're great. And any concerns, we monitor next door. I'm sure you've seen me post on there before if you're on it. We try to monitor that, and if there's any specific thing that someone has an issue with, you know, we do try to deal with it. And most people, I think, have my cell phone number. If you don't, I can give you my card. We try to work very closely with the citizens over here because I know Dr. Hotel specifically got my position put in place here because at some point it gets busy on the other side and your Singer Island officer sometimes has to go over there. So now you have two basically permanent officers over here that we don't leave unless something really bad is happening over there. So we try to, yes, 7 days a week. I don't know if you know Officer Summers, we work opposite days, so when I'm off duty, he's on duty. We communicate very well together to share issues we're having, some of which Sergeant Schneider Flatley recently married. But she'll explain a little more about some of the issues that we're having with the homeless in the parks. It's becoming a bigger and bigger problem because other cities have enacted ordinances that are sort of pushing them out, and they're kind of showing up here. So it's a daily battle for me, and we treat them with dignity. But many of the homeless that we're getting are not people that have lost their jobs and are living in their cars. They're homeless by choice. We have resources that we offer them. Many of them don't want it. I mean, I'm just being honest. But we try very hard, and she'll fill you in more on that because the night patrol officers who Captain Schneider is in charge of are the ones that are out here after Officer Summers and I are gone. So,
For those that don't know, last year Officer Hoffman saved 2 people's lives, received a life-saving award. They were 13-year-old, I believe it was?
12.
12-year-old was caught in a current, wasn't able to save himself. Officer Hoffman actually swam out there. A civilian swam out there to try to help, but he almost lost his life too. So 2 people's lives were saved as a direct result of his actions.
The thing is, all of our beaches are not guarded, is what our municipal beach is guarded and Ocean Reef Park is guarded. None of the condos are. And honestly, I just happened to be driving by when this happened, so somebody was looking out for that kid because, you know, what are the odds? But so we do ocean rescue also. We're equipped for it. We have the rescue buoys. We just have to embarrass ourselves and strip down to our boxers, you know, but you do what you have to do.
Thank you so much. What's your married name?
My married name is Flatley. I just haven't changed everything yet. It was just a couple of weeks ago. We've been together a long time and finally decided on. Well, actually, we got engaged 3 months before COVID, and everybody knows what happened with that. So we would have been married a couple of years ago, but it didn't quite work that way. My name is Lee. Just call me Lee. My last name is Flatley. I will be changing my name to Flatley. I'm not doing this Schneider Flatley thing. Just want to take a couple of minutes to talk to a few of you in regards to the homeless population situation and what we have put into place on night shift. It's a little different on night shift than it is on day shift, because remember, on day shift, people have a right to be around. People have a right to be on the beach. People have a right to be in the dunes. People have a right to be in the pavilions and in the parks. They have a right to hang out just like anybody else does, and we treat that with respect and with dignity. At nighttime, it does become a little bit different, especially at nighttime if they're drinking, if they're partaking in some of the music and the festivities of the beachfront and the ocean mall and things like that. We have to sometimes address it in a different manner by law and legally, but still treating them with respect and dignity. There is something called Pottinger's Law that we have truly adopted because we have to. It is law. And basically the bottom line of it says that everybody who is homeless deserves to have dignity and respect and to be treated fairly. just like anybody else does. So what has been put in place over, I'm going to say the last few months, the chief and the city manager, and I'm sure city council and other people as well, is there's been an officer assigned to each shift who has extensive training on it. They bring it back and they train everybody else on the shift. They're a point of contact for each shift, in addition to the two beach units, which is Jeremy and Joe. They go out anytime there is an issue with a homeless person. So when we make contact with a homeless person, we offer them the services at nighttime. The point of call person or the person assigned to that particular position for each shift comes out, they get all their information, they connect them to the services that are around Palm Beach County, in addition to using and utilizing the services through PBSO, because we work very closely with them. Believe it or not, a lot do take the services. Okay, whether they stay in the services, that becomes a question later on for statistics, but a lot of them do take the services. The ones that don't are given information, they know what they can and they cannot do, and then we kind of go from there with them. In regards to nighttime patrols, we've had some complaints in regards to early morning hours at nighttime, where the homeless may be sleeping in front of a business, or they're sleeping in the parking lot, or they're in the parks, or they're on the dunes or on the beaches. So what's been enacted now is 2 to 4 times a night on each rotation, the Alpha 1 and the Alpha 2 shift, we go out there, we walk the beachfront, we walk the dunes, we walked any place where we're getting complaints that there are homeless people congregating, and we go ahead and we move them along. We do it with dignity and respect. We don't disrespect them, because we know that you get more with honey than you do with vinegar. So if you treat people respectfully as you're getting their information, a lot of times they comply a lot easier than somebody who's being nasty or mean to somebody, because there's really no need for that. So the 4 points of contact that are at each of our shifts, plus the officers that are being trained by them, they're learning that communication is a big thing between us and the homeless population. And we do get compliance a lot easier, and we are able to move them on or get them into programs a little bit easier than just being the big bad police officer. So that's kind of where we're at right now. In regards to night patrols, we also do traffic enforcement. We are hitting the beaches, the beachfront, Ocean Boulevard. We're also hitting the bridge coming into the island, coming out of the island, to make sure that we're not having any issues with that. We try to do it as much as we can in between, obviously responding to calls for service.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I was flattered, like the Irish dancer. Now we'll have an update from Michael Lowe, who is the Riviera Beach Utility Special District Executive Director, and he'll talk a little bit about the water.
Yes. Good evening, everybody. I think first thing to talk about is Mr. Evans was talking about water quality and your concerns with water quality, and also I obviously wish to improve that with the new water plant. But the good news, at least, is that where we are at the moment, don't know if you knew, but we were under what's called it's a consent order, but it's called enforcement action. So in other words, under the consent order, they're watching what we do, and they're looking at the quality of the water and the problems that they'd identified and ensuring that we correct it. So they've actually, excuse me, notified us. We've successfully got off consent order, and there's no longer any more enforcement action. Doesn't mean to say that we rest on our laurels. There's still a lot more to do just with the existing plant and the existing water system. So you will see that we're going to go to what's called a chlorine burn or free chlorination next month. And I think it's the 9th through for 2 weeks. We will be basically eliminating chloramines, just going to straight chlorine. That helps us clean out the pipes effectively. And you'll see us flushing hydrants as we pull that free chlorinated water through the system to ensure that it gets everywhere and we get the full benefit of that. So that will be starting next month. We're almost there, aren't we? With regards to the new water plant, yes, we've been in contract negotiations and we're still working on it. But in parallel to that, we're also working on what will be done. It's a two-stage process to build this plant, and the first stage is to take the design to a certain point and come up with what's called a guaranteed maximum price, which we then take back to the board, and then we go ahead and build. So I'm working on what's within that first phase. How can we ensure that we can lock in some of the pricing to help us out? Because with the way inflation's going in the construction business, it's moving fast. You have to do your best to hold prices. So we're doing that as well. That first stage will take about 6 months when we go back, and then, well, I did have 36 months, but I hear I've now got 30 months. So we'll go as fast as we can, and some things might happen quicker than other parts because of getting access to materials and stuff like that. With regards to other projects impacting the island, we're looking at 2 lines that come in and out of the island. The first is another water main. You have 2 at the moment. They come in different parts. We're looking to bring in another one. As part of that work, we are at the moment commissioning some more surveying, which helps us find the right landing spot and how can we, because these pipes are drilled underneath the intracoastal, and so you've got to find the right landing spot. You've got to have the right space to lay out all the pipe before you pull it through and the like. So that work's ongoing, and then separately we want to put in what's called a new force main. Force mains are where we're taking away the wastewater. So there's one at the moment. We want to put a second one in. And so they are working hard with that. We've been talking with particularly a developer that is right at a point where we would like to come in because what we have on the other side makes sense as well. It's a little bit harder to site force mains because you've got to get into the wastewater collection system, which isn't as broad as the water distribution system. So we are working on that at the moment. I gather he might have some more land within his development that will enable us to find a good location to come in. So the moment we get the sites located, we already have an engineer on board who will complete the engineering work, design work necessary to do these 2 pools. They're not short. I've been involved with this. You know, you have sometimes. I've gone under I-95, and that gets interesting. Although I got told the other day that someone hit that line. AT&T went straight through it. That's what there'll be a lot of activity when you see that, because, you know, if you're trying to pull 3,000 foot of pipe, you've got to glue it all together and lay it all out, and it gets pulled through in one go.
Fascinating. Thank you so much. Any questions about that?
How, if any, will that affect the piping that comes in and out of either homes or condos from the street?
It won't.
On the island I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It won't?
It won't impact no, it won't. This is just going to, are you water or the wastewater? Sorry, this is like both of them?
Both.
It's on the water side, it will potentially help us get rid of the water tank because we can get more water here quickly, so we don't need the tank. So that's one of the studies we'll be doing. Even on the wastewater side, it's the same. Your house connects to what's called a gravity system, and by gravity it comes to a variety of pumping stations, and then there's one pumping station here which finally collects everything and sends it over to the other side. So you won't really see a difference in your house with regards to how these projects work, except improving reliability and our ability to service you.
The reason I ask the question is because I live in a condo community, and there's lots of rumors going around, which I don't believe, but they're saying now that when this treatment plant is finished, and the new water lines are coming in and the waste is going out, we're going to have to replace all the piping from the buildings to the street where we now connect to the city's lines.
No, that won't be the case. We have to meet what's called the primary and secondary water quality standards. They don't change regardless of the process that we use. So there should be no impact on that. What people might have heard about is what's called the lead copper rule. It's not as big of an issue with us here. Florida doesn't have a big lead issue. Washington, the city of Washington, D.C. does. My old boss used to be involved in that. So there's a new regulation coming in where we will actually be checking that there is no lead pipes anywhere. There's funding that's coming through from the federal government to help utilities change out those lines, but we're not anticipating from the records we have to have any significant problem at all here. Florida's not expected to have very many homes impacted by that.
Thank you, I'm happy to hear that.
Thank you so much. Really good information. And now we'll turn to Mr. Johnson, who's the Director of Public Works, and I hope he will touch at least briefly on the medians on North Ocean Drive, among other things. Mr. Johnson.
Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to touch on a few of our programs, actually, that's being operated out of our Public Works Department. One of the programs that I'm really heavy on is the aspect of, on the island, that we have a lot of storm drain lines that actually run out to the waterways. Those storm drain lines need to be inspected. They need to be actually cleaned, televised, and provide an inspection report due to and provide a condition report due to how long they have actually been established in the ground. And we just want to make sure that we're not having any type of failures along people's homes and make sure that no one has any issues with their storm drain system. This is a proactive measure that we wanted to move forward with to start actually working on the island first and then start moving towards the west. A lot of the pipe are corrugated metal pipe, which is not the saltwater intrusion's best friend. So we want to make sure that we have all those situations rectified on the island as every outfall that goes out into the waterway. Our second program that I want to discuss is our regulatory sign program. We have our team that's out canvassing the entire city to replace any regulatory signs, which are stop signs, yield signs, any type of signs that may be faded, because for safety measures, we want to make sure that our residents will be able to see the signs as well during the day as well as night. And that's what is some of our safety measures. Street restriping. We're canvassing the city citywide to make sure that we have proper striping. And so again, from a safety standpoint for our residents to be able to see the roads properly. We have a sidewalk program, and we're replacing all deteriorating sidewalks as a citywide program as well. One of the things that we're trying to establish is become a national accreditation for our Public Works Department. What it does, as it allows us to be national certified, it puts us in a position that we can actually have a Public Works Academy here in the city of Riviera Beach. We have a lot of Public Works Academies that's actually on the West Coast, but it's something that I feel as though we need to actually have here on the East Coast as well. As discussions about the medians, as we did have a renovation program this year. As far as the medians that's on Singer Island. On January 19th, 2022, we did have a charrette, and we had an opportunity to have the residents of Singer Island actually vote on which medians that they actually wanted to actually install on the island there. So basically that was supposed to take place this year. We had some situations that we had to move monies around for this year. But as we go into our budget process for the next year, we're looking to actually add back into that program to actually finish the renovations of the buildings on City Hall.
Thank you so much. Great information. Appreciate it. So we have a little time left for questions and answers. I want to introduce Ms. Deirdre Jacobs, who's the Assistant City Manager, and Ms. Liz McBride, who's the Deputy City Manager, and they're here as well to answer any questions anyone might have. So, Mr. Evans.
I'm sure if I may, if I can give Ms. Jacobs and Ms. McBride maybe 2.5 minutes to talk about some of the projects, because Ms. McBride's working on
Sure.
affordable housing and workforce housing to be able to try to address some of the challenges we're seeing. And then Ms. Jacobs has some projects and initiatives she's working on as well. So we can give them 2.5 minutes each.
Who wants to go first?
Thank you for allowing us to come out and speak to you this evening. I just want to say on behalf of the staff, at the City of Riviera Beach, we are really true public servants, and we're grateful to be able to provide services to you anytime that you need to come to us with your concerns or issues. You can either speak with us directly or through Sammy and Dr. Hotel, and we'd be more than pleased to assist you with your issues. As far as projects that I'm working on, I work along with Mr. Johnson, Mr. Lowe, and our Development Services Director, Mr. Sermons, over in the Development Services Department. I'm not sure if you all are familiar with what goes on over there. In particular, we provide permitting services, and over the last few months, we put activities in place where you can get actually expedited permitting, where it's done more so virtually. You don't have to necessarily come into the office. And I think that was a really big issue that Dr. Hotel had on her front burner with regards to many concerns that would come to her with issues that dealt with contractors and them not being able to get expedited permitting. So that's something that we're working on to put in place in an effort to speed up that process. The water treatment plant, we found 2 developers that will be assisting us, that Mr. Lowe spoke of, with developing, creating a new water treatment plant. And that plant won't only be for treatment of our water, but it'll also be an opportunity for us to build new public works facilities. So we're hopeful that that'll take place. Mr. Evans mentioned in the next 60 months, but I was told today that my job was on the line, so it might even be before the 30 months that he until Mr. Lowe. So he has 30 months. My job is at stake, so we have to make sure that that project takes place. But we were working with the attorneys on the phone this afternoon, so hopefully that'll be a project that'll soon forthcoming for us in order to be in a position to provide better quality water services. What else do we have? The medians, did we mention the medians? You didn't mention that? So there was the Palm Beach Isles Bridge project. I'm not sure if you all are familiar with that, but we had to actually move, I think in the last council meeting on the 20th, a little over $2 million from that project. So we had to move money there to ensure the safety of the Palm Beach Isles Bridge. And because of that, monies were moved from other activities over here on the island, but we're hopeful, if not the upcoming budget year, in budget years that will come subsequent to the next budget year, that we'll be able to put monies back in place so that we can get back on the medium projects. What else do we have going?
Appreciate that. Appreciate everything you do. Ms. McBride.
Good evening. Thank you. I think this is my first time to your meeting, Dr. Hotel. You know, most of the units I'm over are support units for the city, be they procurement, HR, city clerk's office, just to name a few of the 7 units that I work in. But for the projects that I'm currently working on, many of them are the ones that are the capital projects Mr. Evans has described for police, for fire, police, as well as the municipal complex. but also to the side, I'm working on a ground lease for Found Care, the federally qualified health care center that the council approved a center in a lease for, that they hope to build within our city, hopefully in the next 2 years. Some of the housing initiatives that I'm working on for affordable housing, which is a challenge for this city. And it's really a big challenge for this city because we are not a HUD entitlement city, which means we do not get directly community development funds that other cities and the counties receive directly that can be utilized for that particular activity. Some of the challenges also for us as a city, we kind of lost our focus of that activity somewhere around 2014. We are now becoming more focused with the efforts of the CRA, as well as the ones that the city is about to undertake. In this last budget year, the council designated $1 million in funds for us to complete our pilot project in 2 areas of the city, Federal Gardens and up in the area near the Brook Center that is built up in the Riviera Beach Heights area, around West 5th Street, 500 block West 5th Street. We put in a center there, and we also have a passive park in that area. Therefore, we thought it would be a great reason to invest. In Federal Gardens, it is primarily home renovations, basically to help revitalize that community because the housing stock in that community is really good. And for the most part, they've been well cared for. What we do have in our city, be it Federal Gardens or other area, an imbalance between home ownership and investor-owned housing. And unfortunately, in those communities, the investor-owned housing outweighs the owner housing, which creates not only housing-related problems, but I'm sure in many ways often other problems that a city has to address, crime and otherwise. So we are hoping to get those projects kicked off during the summer months. For the infill housing project that is primarily in the Brook Center area, we are doing that one with Habitat for Humanity. And we have been looking and pursuing several means to obtain funding beyond what the council has allocated for us. And we will also be making application to other areas. But yesterday we also have looked at 2 other areas within the city to consider for some affordable workforce housing to be completed, and we'll be working with the manager to see how we might move forward with that, as well as with probably the CRA with that venture. Another area we have that was identified today, and I was really glad that I was here to hear the officers speak of the homeless issue on the beach, because during the next week we were assembling a group of people, and Chief, I would hope that you have whoever is the most knowledgeable person come with you to that meeting when we do meet, that Ms. McCray is setting up, dealing with the homelessness, so that we can maybe come up with other more creative solutions that exist there. But I'd say we're probably no different from many cities, small or large, and within this county, not within this county, in trying to address this issue of homelessness and how to manage it so that it yields good results for everyone. Okay, good results for everyone. But I did hear something that I've even experienced from my years of seeing this, be it large cities like DC, Atlanta. Often there's choices, and the person is often not seeking any other way other than to live as they're living. And those are probably the areas where the greatest challenge is created, trying to resolve so it works okay for the individual as well as the community. One other area that I probably bring to attention, we're about to issue, coming before month is over, our new solicitation for solid waste collection and recycling. You would think it would be often such a hot topic in local government, but it can be. It can bring out good things and bad things. But we hope that we've ended up with a solicitation that has been purposefully driven, that it will yield and focus on what will it cost the ultimate user, which will be you, and bring the best value to U.S. citizens for those services to be delivered to. Anything else to say?
Thank you so much. I just have a couple of quick announcements. We've been working on World Oceans Day. The United Nations set aside June 8th as a way to celebrate our oceans, and they do that every year on June 8th, regardless of what day of the week it falls. This year it falls, I think, on a Wednesday. But we're planning an art exhibition with the help of the CRA over at the Marina Event Center for the month of June, art that focuses on the ocean. The opening of the exhibition will be on June 8th with a little reception. And then we're also planning a concert on June 17th, again at the Marina Event Center, a wonderful concert. You could probably fit 300 people there, so we hope everybody comes out for that concert to celebrate World Oceans Day. I really want to thank, we have such great stellar staff here, and I want to give them another round of applause. This evening, as I said, we typically get many more people, but we know we're going to be putting this on Nextdoor and Facebook, so a lot of people will take advantage of the information you shared this evening. And thanks so much to all of you who came out. And yes, another question.
I do have a question. We are walkers on Singer Island, and we see these lamp poles on the ground, and this has been years and years. Any plan what to do with it?
Yes, Mr. Evans.
So I can only share some limited things, but we are working with legal with regards to being able to recover those poles and more importantly, getting them, installed, and so we don't have that particular issue. But we are working, and it's a process that we have to follow, but we share the same frustration and stress.
Just seems like for years.
Yeah,
I have another question. I'm sorry. About 2 months ago, we were walking on the on 818, and there was a Riviera Beach truck that was putting up signs to boil water. And it was a windy day. It was flying over. It was 4:30, and I thought, we never got any notice. I'm on the board, and I called our manager, and she did some searching and found out that we were under boil water. In the past, whatever, emergencies we had, I think Riviera Beach did a wonderful job, but I was really shocked with that. Those signs were flying over, and really, our friends in the other building knew nothing about it.
On the island?
On the island. That was about 2 months ago.
Okay.
And there was some...
I always post the minute I get a boil water notice.
Later on, I saw it on
Okay, I
Nextdoor.
post it on Nextdoor and on Facebook.
Yeah.
But in addition, the city has a hotline. Maybe you want to speak about...
Well, Mr. Lowe can speak operationally because we're required to effectuate notice in a certain way. So, Mr. Lowe, if you want to speak to the notice requirement.
Right. The moment we're aware of a situation, we have to notify you. We also notify the health department immediately. We're actually looking to, beyond the formal stuff that you see, find out if there's better ways. It's a little bit harder with condominiums and big apartment buildings, but one of the things I'm used to is actually putting out door hangers that have the instructions, tell you what's going to happen. They're sort of pre-printed with some minor stuff added in multiple languages. And there's a red one when you've got a problem, and then when it's cleared, you get a green one. So you don't really even have to read it then, green for gold. So we're looking at this to try and introduce that and add to the ways in which we communicate. And we'll be talking to homeowners associations and managements in the condominiums because it's difficult. We're not allowed to go in and put a door hanger on everywhere. So
And what neighborhood are you in?
We're on Singer Island.
But I mean,
Yeah, but
which of the neighborhoods,
Which building?
Connemara.
Oh, Connemara, okay.
Connemara.
So,
May I, why not put it on the local news?
Right.
I mean, I
It
live on
goes
the
out.
island, I didn't hear
It
about
goes,
county
it goes,
oil
it goes
oil.
out to them, they're not required to
I
share.
beg your pardon?
They're not required to put it out there. We send it to them, but
I will
they,
say that I did get a notification on my phone, so if you're hooked into the local news, I got immediate notification.
Yeah, I have been getting some on our phone, but this was, I didn't get anything, and
do they not get notified if they're, Mr. Evans, if they participate in the code red or red?
No, we tried that when Marcia was here. She was in charge of the code red. So we did it once, maybe twice, but what happens is we were not able to segregate it for a certain group of people, so it went out to everybody as a part of code red, and it became,
Was it the whole island?
no, it was specific. It was specific because it actually read the notice, but there was so much confusion because it went out to everybody that it created an alarm for everybody that was a part of the database.
because what happens is you have, in Code Red, I think you have over, 2,500 subscribers, and so you get the text message and then you get the audio message. Well, sometimes people don't read the entire text message, and then they don't listen to the entire audio message, so then you have 1,500 people that are calling because of that, so, we're working on some other things.
Sometimes the boil water's like 3 houses. It's very hard to focus it in on just those 3 people.
But we do put notices on all of the homes, if it's a single family residence, if it's affected, we actually go physically knock on the door and leave them with the notice.
So what I'm going to do is follow up with Connemara and maybe some of the other condominiums, so that we can be sure that if the general manager of your building gets the notice, he or she should be responsible for getting that information out to the community.
and that's what we did. You know, I called the manager before you go home, notify
Make sure,
everyone.
I'll work on that
Yeah.
with COSI.
Thank you.
You had a
I have
question?
a question, and it's an issue that I have, because I live down North Harbor Drive, and I come up Park Avenue a lot, but I gotta cross with this light. This light is a non-functioning light, and I press it. I've gotten hit over several times. My husband had to pull me out of the way, cars zip you around. They don't care in the morning. They don't care, because they're not used to this light being, turning red sometimes, because you can just go through it. It doesn't work like a regular light, and I don't know why. It annoys me. It annoys me, because somebody's gonna get hurt one day.
Yeah, no, you're right. There's some things that
People go to work are so used to it being green, when they see it red, they don't know what to do. It's coming from that direction, because it's coming around the bend. Can't they put a blinking sign up or something?
One of the problems that we have is that FDOT controls the light. This is not a Riviera Beach road.
Okay, well,
So what I can do is get in touch with my contact at FDOT and say, can we please be sure that this is, number one, functioning all the time, and perhaps take a look at making it a little bit more obvious that you're supposed to stop when it's a red light. I mean, I'm not sure how much else I could do.
Well, it slows traffic down too in the morning too, in the evening.
What we can do is, we can do traffic and speed enforcement, so we can have a situation where we can sit units out here and watch it, and you write enough of those coupons, people
Well, when
start
these guys
paying
are
attention.
out there, everybody calls.
Well, they can do it in an inconspicuous
No,
way.
true. Here, I'll stand out there.
And just hit the button for us.
If you're gonna call F5, can you get the lights synchronized?
I'm tearing you.
Bridge.
I gotta work on that too. Any other questions? Because it's right up to the time where we like to call it an evening. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate everybody who came out to help us this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Thank you.